it. You baby, here we go. Oh, and we are live. What is up, Mr. Lamay?
How you doing?
Oh man, I gotta warn the audience out there, all you folks that are taking the time to hang out with us. I'm having like weird internet issues. I don't know. I really don't know if it's like my computer or if it's my internet. Like I've had funky wonkiness going on, or maybe it's the hurricane that hit.
Hurricane in Texas, yes.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
that may be it, because it's been kind of a nuisance all day. And then it's like, is it really that bad? Meaning I'm having to wait half a second longer for stuff to like populate. It's not that bad. But anyways, folks, welcome to conversation number 2.
Part 2.
About number 2. And you know what?
Yeah.
I don't even think we can like predict how many sessions they're going to be, right, Thomas? I mean,
Nope.
we kind of get into a subject and maybe get off track, but we are talking about the 5th discipline today. We're going to talk about the beer game and the 11 laws?
11 laws. Yes, sir.
And also, I know some of y'all are repeat offenders in that you've been here before, either to the collabo sessions we did on the goal, or you got to see us last time. So if you have, and if you're out there, let us know that you're out there, and let us know if this is your first session. And just so y'all know, we did zero prep. This is it. We're live, baby.
Yeah, I literally just logged in. Heck yeah. It's the best kind. I love it because it's like, who knows what we're gonna talk about or go.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna talk about a little beer game.
Oh man, the beer game. What'd you think about the thumbnail that I used for the thing? Did you think it was misleading, or?
I like it.
The image.
I think that's it. Yeah. I need to update my picture, but
your profile.
But yeah. I have less or more hair, perhaps. However, whatever angle you look at me. But
we got Sarah a couple minutes. She says, "I'm just here because of you two amazing guys." Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, Sarah, I creep on your podcast weekly.
Yeah,
I need to like enter into the chat more often, but it's during work hours, so I gotta watch myself.
You gotta do it on the down low.
Yes, but all good stuff. We'll probably link some of the stuff that they talk about in here. Oh yeah, like we're going to talk about interconnected and interdependencies and all that stuff, like how decisions ripple, those kind of things. Sarah,
oh yeah,
you have influence on a lot of people, and I thank you for that, for all of the content and work that you put in. It's good. So same for you, Jesse. Same for a lot of people.
Look. She says, yes, please. Yeah, because Sarah's awesome. So looks like we got people up on the interwebs checking us out. Folks, if y'all don't know Thomas Lamay, this is Thomas Lamay, and you best be ready for some intellectual stimulation because Thomas brings it. Last time I think we were talked a little bit about the Eiffel Tower, right?
Oh,
we talked a little bit about organizational learning disabilities. And this book, it's a big book. So we got a lot of work to cover.
And the important thing, like what you mentioned there, is really important that when you read this book, it's not like the goal where you can kind of like, actually the goal is very similar. Like you have to read the whole thing through because each part builds upon the next. So if you're listening to perhaps this podcast at a later date, go back to 1 and start from there. You might have to listen to it at 1.5 speed or faster, but this and I didn't ever realize that, Jesse, until this book, and some whole bunch of like just thinking about things and that kind of stuff. But the reason why this book is kind of really cherished is because each section teaches what's going to be released in the next section. And so if you don't have a good grasp of that section, you won't fully understand the next section. It's like calculus.
Like it's a progressive build, and you got to
Mhm.
have to find that the foundational knowledge, if you will,
Yes.
so that you can make the connections and actually
And-
go apply. I agree, 100%.
And Peter Senge proves how difficult Last Planner is to get stood up on its own feet. And it's for this specific purpose is you have to have these fundamental laws. We're going to talk about laws, but just something like Last Planner can't be taught or understood in a boot camp. You can be introduced to it, and you can be like get hungry for more. And that's what the boot camp is for. It's just like going to Marine boot camp.
Planting seeds.
Yes.
You just planting seeds in a boot
yes.
camp.
All you learn, all you do is transition at the recruit depot there in San Diego is you transition from being or Paris Island here on the West Coast, but you transition being a citizen to a Marine. And that transition period is the boot camp part. And so you must go through further training and refinement and all that stuff. And this book is exactly the same way. And I got all kinds of like loops and correlations. I got like Marcus Aurelius on deck. Just be aware of that.
Oh, it's a stoicism.
Yes. So like stoicism, it all plays.
I listened.
Go ahead.
My PR, the best marathon race I ever ran, my best time was 3 hours and 56 minutes for 26.2 miles. And I learned, like, part of my problem was I would burn out, right? I would wear out, I would get exhausted and then crash. And anyways, I learned or discovered that it was because of it depended on what I was listening to. If I was listening to music, my pace would fluctuate dramatically based on the tempo of the music I was listening to. So on that marathon, I decided to listen to Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, bro. And I mean, 20 miles, bro. I was on plan every single mile. I was on the pace that I targeted for every 3 miles and all the adjustments I made. So one, it helped me with tempo, but two, amazing book. So it's another thick one, right? And full of
let's go ahead and put that in the queue for 26, perhaps.
Yes, meditation.
Thomas and Jesse, we're gonna need like 30 sessions for that,
dude. For real,
buddy. But so I linked some of that in. That is my favorite book of all time. All time.
Yes.
Every time I read it, it gets better and better and better. Meditations. People are like, "What are you doing with Marcus Aurelius in a construction trailer?" I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you.
Let me show you."
let's sit down and talk. And then by the end of it, we're like crying and like hugging each other and grown men. These are grown men doing these behaviors. So.
Yes. I'll check it out. We got Armando from the shower.
Hopefully he's got a beer. It's a shower beer. I don't drink beer anymore, but when I did, it was a lot of them were in the shower, and that's when you do some of your best thinking. So you got to stay hydrated while you're while you're meditating. Yeah, for sure.
100%. So what do you say? We kick it off.
Let's go back to school.
Let's do it.
Let's go back to school. So the beer game comes from an actual class that's taught at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Have you ever heard of it? MIT?
I've heard of it. I've heard the letters. MIT.
Trade school north of Boston.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of popular.
The cool thing about MIT, some of their classes they put all of their curriculum up on the internet for free. It's free. You can basically get an MBA from the Sloan School of Management without even applying. It's really cool. So I went out there. So this content that we're going to present, at least the commentary to the beer game, comes from It's an MBA level class, graduate level class, 15.871 Introduction to System Dynamics. Peter Senge used to teach it. It's now John Sturman, Professor John Sturman there in Cambridge, Mass.
Do you know if they still run this simulation to like?
Not sure. I don't know if they're running it in the fall, but this was a very when Peter Senge was teaching this, he would introduce this. They've probably like phased it out since like it's so well publicized and everybody knows all the tricks.
Yeah. All the cheaters.
Yes, of course. Like, oh, we're gonna talk about cheating. Oh, you know it. But have you? This isn't even a question. But the greatest way to learn a concept that's complex is to play a game.
Yes,
because it happens right in front of you.
Yes,
and you can. And if it's a simulation, if it's Legos, there's some bowls and some dice. Right, there are all kinds of like simulations. These simulations are not silly. Wood blocks with adults is incredibly important to learn the sequence and that kind of stuff. So like if you're presented with a simulation at work or in your personal life, like take it seriously. We look at our kids, they're constantly doing this, but they're learning the world around them by doing this. That's why it's been proven that marshmallow game that kindergartners do so much better than CEOs, like and not like a little bit better, like exponentially better.
The marshmallow tower game.
The marshmallow tower challenge.
Who's heard of that? Have you heard of that? I've seen it.
Yes. So it's so powerful. These simulations are very powerful. So today we're going to talk about the beer game, and it's not about how much you can chug.
Right. Oh shit, everybody just logged off.
Sorry. Nor is it about how many that you can put away in a single setting. It's not even about consumption at all. It's about the bullwhip effect, and it's about supply chain. And what it is, it's a simulation that puts participants in like roles in a beer supply chain. So there's a brewer, there's a distributor, there's a wholesaler, there's a retailer. There's actually three characters that we'll talk about today. That's the brewer, the brewery, who takes raw materials and turns it into that amber liquid. And then the wholesaler takes it from the brewery and distributes it to retailers, and retailers sell it to you and me or anybody else that wants to do it. So the goal funny how that gets put in there. It's always to meet customer demand while minimizing costs. So this is beer, the food and beverage industry is generally not a charity. It's a business like anything else. So they have costs.
So their cost in this thing is inventory, transportation, etc. Yes, they could have warehouses full of it, but if they can't sell it, it goes bad. It's a perishable item.
Right. So
yes.
Here we go. So it doesn't last forever.
Yep.
And that's very important. And it doesn't get delivered by a stork. It has to be made. It has to be made, and brewing takes time. It can't just rush brewing. There's people
we can come up with like a chat GPT brewery GPT. All right, you just press some buttons and bam, you get your drink.
I don't know. I've been to some alcohol creating facilities. The best ones were built in like 1860 and haven't been messed around.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's tried and true. And like the reasons why is some of the things that we'll talk about. Some of the things that we like about certain food or that is because of the interconnected of things. Like the limestone water or the Rocky Mountain water or the yeast the barley or whatever it is. Those things are very important. So those things have to be grown by farmers, and those farmers have to do a good job planting the seeds.
Yes.
So we're now into a supply chain. We're also in a supply chain with human beings who have emotions and fear and greed, and they're influenced by influencers. So it creates demand.
Yes.
So we have here the classic. This is why it's an MBA. It's a class. It's taught at MIT, Sloan School of Management, where it's a classic tale of supply and demand. But it's in a complex system, so it's not as simple as you might think. But the goal is simple: is to keep everybody happy, all up and down that supply chain. We're all trying to make money or have a couple cold ones after work. Sounds easy, right? This seems like a pretty simple
piece of cake
game, right? There's a catch though. Oh yeah, whiskey. I do imbibe in a little bourbon once in a while. but giving up on the hops and barley. Anyways, so the goal, everything keeps everybody simple. Here's the catch though. So since this is a simulation, you can only communicate with the person right next to you. Right. So if you're the wholesaler, you can only talk to the person to the right of you. So that would be the retailer.
Yep.
There's no other communication methods.
Yep.
And you fill out the way you communicate. You don't even use words. You fill out slips with
that's right.
delivery. So you put your order on a slip of paper. You can't even talk. And there's time involved, and there's several rounds. I think they play like 24, maybe 26 rounds. But each round represents 1 week. And and everyone takes a little time to get the beer to the next person. So remember, it's got to be brewed and then moved to a wholesaler, and from the wholesaler to the retailer, and to the retailer to the customer. So we're only talking about brewery, wholesaler, retailer. Yes. So guess what happens? Chaos. These are we were talking about this last at MIT. It's like these are the people who score 30 plus on their ACT or 1600s. These are the best and brightest in the world, and they have trouble even managing this process.
Yes. Well, and I'll add, like, what I love about it
in a big way. Yeah.
It's they can almost predict the way the people will respond, the outcome of their participating in the game. So much so, like, there's a very tiny percentage of individuals over, who knows, hundreds of iterations that actually made the appropriate decisions. Everybody else makes the same set of decisions that creates chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And this is graduate level. So this isn't like intro to systems dynamic. Right. This is a graduate level class. So these are people who understand supply and demand and like ordering and all this kind of stuff. So give you the basic structure of the game. You got four roles. You got the goal. We talked about that. You have an information flow. So you only have limited information about orders and inventory. You can't see the full system. You can only see your little piece.
Yep.
There's no Power BIs going. Communication is restricted.
Yes.
Is restricted. Don't believe me? Go try to call Jay. Who's the insulation manufacturer?
Oh, yeah.
Dow Chemical. Yeah. Try to get a hold of the plant manager for Dow Chemical just by perusing the interwebs.
Mm-hmm.
Get their personal cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible. Perhaps not. Not if you maybe had a personal relationship. Maybe. Anyways.
Maybe.
Anyway, but in this simulation, your communication is restricted, and they try to do it. They simulate the real world there. They actually have this is complex supply chain. There are rules to communicating with the brewery and rules to communicating with retailers. And there should be some rules, and we'll talk about those. So week 1, let's just sit down. We run Okay, Jesse, I will be the retailer. So I run
Okay.
my local stop and go
Yes.
here in Atlanta. It's let's say it's what's the Atlanta? What's popular here? The Raceway, racetrack. Ooh, that's controversial. I'm gonna
Ooh.
say Raceway.
Okay. Okay.
And I order by the case. So one case of beer is 24 12-ounce cylinders of Lover's beer, and Lover's beer is it's a microbrew. Granted, this book was written probably in the 80s and early 90s, so microbrewers really weren't a thing. Perhaps, I don't know, but it's a smallish brewery. We're not talking about Anheuser-Busch here, who can make some adjustments. This is a
niche shop. Yep.
So week one, I typically sell the same amount of this Lover's beer every week for the last. I don't even think about it. It's just been steady. And I keep back stock in the walk-in cooler in the back, and then whatever else it's stocked up front. And when the front runs out, I move the back to the front, and then every week the beer man comes around or beer woman comes around, and I hand them a slip, and I say, "Give me 4 cases. I want 4 cases." That way, I got 2 in the cooler out front, and then I got 2 out back.
Yep.
There you go. It's business as usual. I'm just used to it. I place a bunch of other orders. I got Coors. I got all kinds of stuff. So that's week one. Week two. Uh-oh. Somehow demand spiked, and those 2 cases of beer in the cooler disappeared quick. So I was like, "Oh, I'm down to 1 case," and I'm like, "Okay, wow, something happened here." I didn't usually think about this, but actually, I have to. I probably should, instead of ordering 4, I'm going to order 7.
7 cases.
7 cases. That way, in case we sell all 4, I'll still have 3, like my normal. Like I'll still keep 2 in inventory. That way, I won't run out, because I don't want to be the Raceway that has none of this Lover's beer, because
don't go to Thomas. You ain't got enough.
Week 3, wiped out.
Woo.
First thing, I only got 4 cases delivered.
So you didn't get the 7.
I got my regular 4, but I didn't get the 3 more that I wanted that I put on my order. I only got the 4, and those 4 get taken away.
Yeah.
And now I got people that are like, Thomas, I get this Lover's beer all the time here. I don't really want to go down the street. When are you going to get it in? I'll be like, listen, there's some kind of ripple in the supply chain.
I'm sending an order right now.
I'm taking my 7 order. I doubled it. It's now 14.
Son, okay.
Because I'm like, geez, at this rate, I'm already wiped out in the first part of the week, and then when I get my 4, those go to the back order people, and I'm like freaking out, because I'm like, this is sales that are going down the road.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't make great turnover. This is a retail shop,
right?
So get a little anxiety feeling.
Yes. Lost business, lost customers. Yes.
So I'm going to order 30.
With the 14 and the 7 still.
Remember 7, 14, 30. That's like, and I usually order 4. So my back order is huge now.
Look, we got a warning from the audience. Sarah says,
and it expires. Yep. No one likes the skunky beer. Because I still sell all my other stuff, so I got to keep everything in stock. It's not like I have this massive walk-in cooler. It's limited.
Yep.
Finally comes in.
Yes, thank goodness.
Woo! It finally comes in. I got the Lover's beer truck pulls up, and it's like the doors, because they open on the sides. Yeah, it's like the choirs of angels are singing, and I'm like, yes. And I now have like what do I have? Over 30 cases of Lover's beer.
Yeah.
I'm swimming in it.
Yeah, you got plenty.
The next week, another 30 coming.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm like, whoa.
Time out.
I don't need 60 cases of Lover's beer here. I'm still filling my orders. That hasn't stopped. But now I got this crazy inventory in here, and I'm like, I don't need any more. So the next week, I mark it 0. I mark my little order sheet. Instead of writing 30, I write good 0. Instead of writing 4 like I always do, I write 0.
So 4 to 7, 14, 30,
30,
0.
30.
Oh, 30 again.
30
times.
To 0.
No more beer.
I'm like, I don't need to. I'm good. And now I'm like, listen, I got all these cases of beer, and there are only 4 of them rolling out of the store now. Like, what the heck happened?
I got too much.
But now, instead of being anxious, remember the
fear
problem is those guys. Remember that? Remember the disorder? I'm getting it hard right now. I'm like, oh, these guys hose me.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Apparently, so I heard. I'm like, this is before TikTok. That the Iconoclasts, this indie rock band, they put a little blurb in their song that was on MTV. This was back when MTV played music.
Oh, yeah, that was serious marketing back then. Baby.
Yeah. And it created a little blip in demand for 1 week because it was cool for a week. We had some media influencers.
Yeah.
Drove some sales up. But the problem was, instead of a little blip, it was a bullwhip. You know what a bullwhip is? It's like you snap it.
And then
and the whip creates this like huge loop, and then it straightens out, and it's faster than the speed of sound. It's so loud. But the problem with the bullwhip is like that loop. It starts out on one end and goes all the way to the end. Yeah. The problem is at the end of the whip where I am is customers, and they ain't buying.
Yeah. That thing finally came around. You have 60 cases in the cooler.
Yes.
And
I got my cooler in the garage is full. I taking some home, you know, like all the 8 wastes that we're talking about. Remember we're talking about that?
Oh yeah.
It creates all this problem. I got some sitting outside going bad. It's like I gotta throw some away.
You have to run a special.
Like, this is a nightmare. Like, I can't keep up with these changes. Like, everybody upstream of me must be just incompetent.
What the hell are they? They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand. They don't care.
You can't see. All I know is I don't even talk to the wholesaler. I just give him my slip. My slip of paper says, and now I only hand that wholesaler zeros.
Yeah, and the slip and the driver.
And then now I'm in the trying to find a new wholesaler.
Fire them off with their head. Yes.
That's the retailer. Any commentary there? Because it's real. When you're at the end, you're a plumber. You have to feel this. This is the punch list part where it's like all this complicated fixtures and all the adjustments, and like I wave my hand in front of the thing and it doesn't work. It's up on the 23rd floor and it's also on the 2nd floor. Like, where the hell am I going?
Yes. Yeah, it actually it connects more to me with kitchen equipment.
Ooh, yes.
Because I'm hollering from day one. Can I go see the kitchen equipment? Because there's always this gap between the equipment and the plumbing. Like, there's like the rough-in plumbing. And it's like, can I see the equipment? No. Okay, guess what? The equipment's showing up tomorrow. And then you get a trickle, like, God, get the equipment here. And then they flood you with all the freaking equipment. There's no place to store it. And now it creates this big, giant bulk of work trying to figure out what I need, make sure it's getting installed, and getting it all confused. Kitchen equipment is the perfect scenario.
Yes. And it's like fragile too. Like, it's all beautiful stainless steel.
Yes.
Welded. You can't modify it because then you're ruin some of these code related things. So yeah, it's like you can't just do the stick build kitchen equipment.
Yeah. And like Sarah's, same thing. It's one kitchen equipment provider, period. So if anything gets jacked
Probably
up,
talking about maybe she's talking about wholesale alcohol, but
yeah.
Also kitchen equipment for sure. And they have a tough job. But the wholesalers, because not only are you complaining, but I'm complaining. We all have these fancy restaurant. Wolfgang Puck is yelling at me, Jesse.
Yes.
He's
man. He got grand opening coming.
Yeah. John George's. I've worked on John George, the famous French chef. He's a cool guy, but he was demanding, right?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So you're stuck. So if you're at the end of the line, you feel the bullwhip almost the hardest, I think, because you're also the smallest small business typically. And you feel it the most because any hit in your inventory could mean sales walk away. And if your gross sales is razor thin, against your expenses, then you have to make really tough decisions, and that's when people lose their jobs or gas stations close because it's so close.
It's so tight. The margins are tight.
It's a tough business to be in, no doubt.
And what if the demand is limited to once a week per year, like our Armando? That's the only time they want them is once a week per year.
Exactly. So that ripple effect or the bullwhip effect at the end of the line, it doesn't go anywhere because you can't just force things onto paying customers.
Yes.
Sure. You feel it the most. Wholesaler is different. Wholesaler does not order by the case. The wholesaler orders by the gross. So a gross is about a truckload.
Yeah.
So if you see the Bud Light truck driving down the road, or a Miller Lite, or whoever, Pepsi, Coke, mostly Coke here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's the truckload. That's about a gross. Everything that's inside of that is a gross. So you order much larger quantities. So the quantity that you order is larger, but also the sums of money.
Yes. Yeah.
You order a case. What's a case?
Truck? Right. Four cases for the truck is different.
Yeah. 4 cases is maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what Lover's Beer runs at, but not a large sum. But if you're ordering a gross, that's probably thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Easy.
You order multiple grosses. So in week 1 to 3, I'm getting my slip from Thomas. Maybe you can be the wholesaler.
Yeah.
Week 1 to 3, you're getting your regular order, and you make 4 gross orders to Lover's Beer. You deliver the brewery delivers to your warehouse 4 truckloads every week.
Yeah. And now the wholesaler's got to double that.
1 to 3. Remember this.
Yeah.
1 to 3. So remember the retailer at week 3, I was like, oh, there's a problem. But there's a backlog because of the ordering system. The ordering system is always off by a week because the orders come in paper.
Because there's a lag. Yep.
So you compile all these, and then you make that order once to the brewery. So it takes 3 weeks just to if there's any kind of change, it takes at least 3 weeks to notice it.
Yep. Yep.
And everything's running at that point. Everything's smooth. You don't even see the retailers being like, "Oh, something's up here. Something's
coming." Yeah.
So week 4, you start to see 14, 20. Start to see some larger orders. You're like, ooh,
yes. We gotta move some product, baby.
Yeah, let's get that Lover's Beer rolling.
Yes.
So you adjust your order slightly. You say, you know what? I see some larger orders here. I'm gonna order a few extra grosses. A few extra grosses is not insignificant.
Right.
But it is like, oh, I got to check out this Lover's Beer. What's the deal? That's week 4. Week 4 at my shop It was already like, I can't get enough of this. I need
Yep.
a 30.
Yep.
Week 5 to 7, it's like the surge.
Yep. The tidal
Retailer.
wave.
Yeah, so you're getting not just from my local stuff, you're getting it from the whole metropolitan area.
Yep.
And so your inventory, it gets wiped out, and now you got a backlog.
As the wholesaler.
Yeah, as the wholesaler,
you're getting this flood of double, triple size, quadruple size orders from all the other vendors. And so you got to accommodate that. Yep.
This is the if you're paying attention, this is the entire plot line of Smokey and the Bandit, by the way. And it's to Atlanta. They're running Coors beer to Atlanta. Anyways, they couldn't get in Atlanta. At that time, it was illegal. Anyways.
That's awesome.
I told you I'd link it in.
So awesome. Yeah.
You gotta have the Smokey and the Bandit. But so you drastically increase your orders. I mean, you're like, I need 20 gross instead of four gross. You've like, what is it? 20, almost 3x your order in gross. Yep. So you could be out over $100,000 because you don't get paid until you sell it to the retailer.
Right.
And they pay you back.
You
got to front big money. It's a big sum.
Yeah.
So instead of like, oh, I'm out maybe a couple thousand, you're out perhaps hundreds of thousands, and perhaps more than that. Could be. Yep. I mean, depending on how large your city is, and you start to get frustrated.
Yeah. What the hell? Come on, brewery.
With the brewery.
Yeah.
Frustrated with the retailers. And you're like, hey man, brewery, I need to what the heck's going on over there? Like you got production problems?
Yeah.
Are they doing construction on the plant? Yeah. So what you have to do, you have to make a whole bunch of trade-offs. And what happens in the beer game is you have to fulfill your orders. So what people generally do is they fill the highest orders first, like there's a priority thing. So the people with the low orders, they get hosed.
Get you next time. Yep.
Just because listen, like I need like the people who order 14 cases regularly versus Thomas over here who 4, like get out of here. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to make sure I prioritize my high paying customers, like the quick trips. And I'm over here like your host, Thomas. You get figured out on your own. So you have to make trade-offs now. Like you're making, I gotta make business decisions. I gotta call people. I gotta apologize. I'm just the middleman in this, or I guess you're the middleman in this thing. And then week 14 swings around. This is 14 weeks into it.
Woo!
Remember,
Thomas started ordering
zeros. I was ordering zeros back in week 8. Yep. So I'm hitting you with zeros now. Boom, zeros. And now you're like, what the heck is going on? By the way, Jesse, the brewery truck, plural. The brewery has trucks outside the warehouse they want to offload. And you're standing there with a handful of zeros.
Negative. Send them back. Send them back.
Your business agreement says you order and you shall receive, and then you redeem them with payment. You reimburse them with payment.
Yep.
And you are freaked out. So week 17, it's like a crisis.
Yeah.
You got business partners calling you. We got to go have a real talk about your ordering, Jesse.
Yeah. Do you know what the hell you're doing?
Yes. This might even be on the news.
Oh yeah.
So that's and then that's in 17 weeks. So remember, in the retail level at week 8, the crisis is over. But in the wholesaler, it's over more than double that. So the bullwhip in the middle is huge, is very huge, and you might be Herbie in this instance. We'll go back to that in a second. At the brewery, remember, they're not large. And the thing about a brewery is their capacity to make beer is fixed on the size of the gallons of the tanks in which they can brew beer. They can only brew beer. It's a process. It's like it's cooking. So whatever you can do to brew beer, that's in your. I suppose you could like license it out, but then you'd lose your quality control. And anyway, so most of the time, your capacity to ramp up production is very difficult to do.
It's limited. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
And so basically, and also, it takes time to brew beer. It starts with the raw material. It has to cook. It's got to ferment. It's all kinds of things.
Yeah. So fluctuations in demand, like the brewery is the least capable to absorb fluctuations in demand.
Oh, yeah. It's almost impossible. Yep. Almost impossible. The only thing that the brewery can do, Jesse, is work harder.
More hours, work harder.
They can ramp up. They can move workers around, reprioritize things, make trade-offs as well. Be like, hey, this lever's light, or the lever's seltzer.
Seltzer. There we go. Yes.
We're gonna slow down on that production, and so because you're fixed your tanks. Yeah. So they have to. But the thing about the brewery, they don't even know that there's anything until week 6.
So they were clueless. There was no indicator to them.
Remember, I'm like at week 6 at retail level, I'm like livid. I'm like crazy.
Yep.
And at the brewery, this is before not Twitter, X. This is before all that stuff. So like in the game, you can't even talk to the brewery. You can only talk with pieces of paper. So at week 6, they're still getting regular orders. Yes. And it takes the brewery 2 weeks from an order, like to make the decision to make beer until it's ready.
So that's their process time. 2 weeks to produce
2 weeks.
X volume.
Remember, it's everything is normal at week 6, and it takes. So if they were to any catch up, it takes them 2 weeks. So that gets you to week 8. And remember, at week 8, I'm hitting at 0. I'm hitting zeros, right?
Shit, the wave is coming.
They haven't even experienced the wave at the brewery.
Yeah.
I'm already not ordering anymore.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, week 8 comes around. They're like, whoa, what are these orders? We got like 32 gross coming out of Jesse's warehouse in San Antonio.
It's all them California.
It's like, all right. Yeah. And it's like, we got to like make some decisions at the brewery. And this is like big stuff because it's like we got silos of grain involved. We're fixed. So we got to order more raw material. We got to bring in scientists on off hours to do quality control because we're going to start running 3 shifts a day, these kind of stuff. So it's like, I can't get my A team to do QC on this batch all day long. They got to go home. So it's like now we got to start throwing away material, right? Because it's like we're making mistakes. So stress and frustration kicks in at the brewery. Yes. So it's the problems now face week 14. It's like chaos. Remember,
ramping up and adjusting to accommodate the surge that has gone away at the final point of distribution.
Yeah. So at week 14, my trucks, I'm like, all right.
Yep.
We got trucks rolling to you, Jesse. Trucks, plural.
Yes.
And these aren't the Budweiser trucks. These are 52-foot semis.
Ooh, baby. Yes.
Traded out. Yeah. Loaded to the gills. And we're sending multiple.
Yeah.
And you got a mountain coming at you. And remember, they don't get paid. The brewery, and they're sending semi trucks out, and not just to one metropolitan area, but to many. So Lovers Beer, let's say they're in Virginia. That's a state for lovers.
Yeah. Lovers.
And they're shipping to the East Coast here. So they got all kinds of major metropolitan areas. So this is like millions of dollars that they are expending that they haven't gotten paid for.
Mm.
And and they keep producing. Remember, this is like we're still receiving these crazy high orders, and now we have ramped up production and we are hitting this Lover's Beer at breakneck speed, and we're sending out semi trucks loads by the day. Man, we're high fiving at the plant. This is like
Hell
we are
yeah.
geniuses.
Christmas bonus, baby. Overtime bonuses. Yes. Record
Probably,
year.
yes.
Record year.
Analysts from JP Morgan are like snooping around the accounting department. And it's like, what is going on until week 16? And the wholesaler order shows up and it's a zero.
No more.
Zero.
No.
And the brewery is getting 0 orders for their product at week, let's say it's 17. I think it's week 17 here in my notes. And so they have to cut back production.
That's it. You know what? I think
we gotta lay people off.
We got James Gable. Colorado. I think the Smokey and the Bandit reference kind of summoned him to the life.
Beer. Yeah, right there in Golden.
We also got Robert. What's up, Robert?
Yeah. All right. So the bottom falls out. And this happens.
Yes.
This happens a lot. It goes all the way week 24.
Woo,
so the bull whip. Yeah, because remember, it takes I gotta lay people off. We got a quarterly report coming. Yeah. Actually, this is like the second quarterly report that we were like missed our production numbers. This is big. Now we're talking huge sums of money, and we're talking investors and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's like morale at the plant is low because it's like, what we got laid off. And then it's like, oh, it's this problem. And it's on the news. It's like, well, it's Lover's Beer's out of business. Like, what's the deal?
What happened? They just wrote a song about him. What happened?
Yes. Yeah. And it's like, how did we get here? The end of the line. Did we screw up? So the brewery sales manager, this is kind of like the wrap up part of the book, but the brewery sales manager finally goes and he goes and see. He goes and see the point.
Yes.
And they actually allow the players to converse at this point. And they actually, at this point, people can really see what happened. And the brewery, so in the book, the brewery sales manager goes to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler like chews him out. And he's like, "Yeah, you're a moron. Like, I wish you hand out some coupons or run a promotion or something so I can get rid of this." Because he's pointing at like this mountain. Beer. And and then he just keeps driving, and he stops in at the local retailer, stops into my shop. And the brewery sales manager has a little in-person visit with me, a local retailer, and I tell him we were selling 4 cases of beer when that music video came out. Then in week 2, we sold 8 cases, and then it mushroomed. And then the brewery manager goes, "But then what happened? Why did it die down?" And I'm telling him, "You don't understand. The demand, it never mushroomed, and it never died out. We still sell 8 cases of beer."
So their actual sales stayed flat.
Instead of 4, it went to 8 and then steadied.
Yep.
The blip was one time.
That's it.
The bull whip was created by a one-time change. And I'm like, dude, we sell 8 cases, but I don't need another 8 case order for like 6 months or like for a while.
Right.
And I go, "You didn't send us." He's like, "Well, what the heck? What happened? Like, what are these crazy orders?" I'm like, "You didn't send us the beer that we wanted. We kept ordering just to make sure we had enough to, meet the demand of but we got the beer out as soon as it was necessary. Well, then maybe the wholesaler screwed up." I've been
Maybe.
wondering if I should switch suppliers. Like maybe he's like, anyways, I wish you'd run a coupon promotion because I want some of my so I want back some of my costs. I need to unload some of these 93 cases. I sell 8 a week.
Yeah, that's 11 weeks worth of beer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Weeks and that's 0 orders.
Right,
So,
with anything in the pipeline. Yep.
The lesson, and there's some lessons at the end of the game. I don't know if you have any commentary there about that.
You know,
Your chance.
the one thing I'll say is it reminds me of a cycle that maybe you've seen, that I've seen many times, where the new company or new leadership or whatever, you have we'll just use a new one, for example. There's never a new one, but company comes out of a construction company. They've had a dry spot because of whatever reason, and all of a sudden they start getting work. And they start doing really well on the work. And they build some credibility in the market, so they get more work. It's okay, they're pursuing that work. And then people start saying, oh, let's give them more work, right? GC say they're pretty good. Let's give them these other projects. And the decision makers of the trade contractor say, hell yeah, we can take it. Oh, there's this big sexy job that's going to have 2 crane towers. And we can have our name up there where people can see it from the highway. We're already at capacity, but let's take those jobs too. And then they take those jobs. And then guess what? They're beyond their limits. They start underperforming. They start having quality issues. They start having personnel issues. They start having all the issues. They lose credibility. They start losing business. And then they're back again and they do it again. I've lived through that cycle multiple times. And that's what this sounds like, right? Like there was this surge. We chased it. I mean, it's kind of the inverse, but it's like death through indigestion more than it is over responding to an anomaly.
Yeah. And perhaps the whole blip, like the increase in sales was one big job. That was it. But it was like, now there's 2 tower cranes up in the skyline. I'm like, they're all over town. What is it? I see them all over the place now. They call that availability bias, because if you see it once, it's like if you want if you just buy a particular car, and then all of a sudden you start to see the same car all over the place,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. You're giving me a panic attack the way DPR has like skyrocketed the ENR list. But and we are very conscious of that, 100%. But it's very true thing, and the same with trades.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
100%.
Like trades need to say no. GCs are blind to the work effect.
There's we got some kick-ass iron workers, but they can't stand up every building in the city. Like they're limited. We want them to. And in a competitive bid environment, it gets, it's like, it's hard. So that kind of leans into the lessons of the beer game. You want to talk about them?
Yeah,
let's get up here.
Come on.
I don't know if your teleprompter is ready. It was like uncanny the last time. I was blown away. But the first lesson of the beer game: structure influences behavior. So the way the system is designed and organized directly impacts the actions and outcomes of the people within it. And I always like to use the analogy of a river. So if you imagine a river, you think, and there's a large boulder causing a blockage, and it leads to turbulent waters downstream, potentially flooding.
Yes.
You can go remove that boulder, but it's dangerous.
Well, I even think
dangerous.
I'm going to screw this up, but I've heard back in the day, like back in olden times, they had to create laws where people couldn't do any digging or jacking around with their property if it was on the shore, or we'll just call it the shore of a lake, or more a river. Because if you dug anything here, it disrupted the flow in such a way that it would erode the hell out of somebody else's property further down the line.
Yes, that we have that. It's a law in America. It's a very specific law. We have to, in our industry, is very compliance driven with that. It's Clean Water Act.
Yep.
Right. It's for that specific reason. If I'm upstream of you and I pollute my water upstream of me, clean, beautiful. What's the problem, Jesse?
Yeah, everybody else is gonna be
So, but my problem was I need to get this boulder out, so I'll get all kinds of nasty equipment and drive and make all kinds of a mess. But removing the boulder, the problem, it's not always feasible or timely. So in organizations, just like in nature, sometimes we have to adapt to the existing landscape. So we can't just be like, hey, the last time we did this, we did it like this. No, like in this case, we got to adapt.
Right.
So instead of fixating, because that boulder is the problem,
yeah,
we could focus on redirecting the flow of water. We have means and methods. If you go to the Hoover Dam, it's proof of this. We can divert the Colorado River for a long period of time and build this massive structure. And they did that. That's proof of that. But you have to change your methods, your means, and you have to adapt to the situation.
Yes.
And that structure, so the structure influenced the behavior, the structure of the system. So the way the system is particularly structured for you. And so there's some takeaways for the listeners. So a good one is improving communication. So if you create clear channels of information and sharing and feedback, you can help create this structure. So the way you structure your information flow will influence behavior.
Yes, information flow, and I'm gonna. This might be splitting hairs, but I'm gonna add information access, because if the right people can't access it, you're not getting any better. Like the risk is still there.
Yeah, that's point 2, building trust and collaboration. So if you're only sharing some information with some people, you don't build trust. You actually do the opposite of that. So having how do you structure the behavior that you want?
Yes.
Collaboration and trust comes into play. It's like, this seems total common sense, Thomas. We're not. We live in an irrational world. And it's why is it? Because we have these structures, and we prove it in the beer game that you can't, even if you wanted to call the brewery, even if you wanted to, you'd get like the helpline that's automated.
Yeah.
Even if you went to the brewery, there's a security guard, and he'd keep you out. Yeah. Even if you wanted to. Yeah. So so it's like the structure of the system influences the behavior of the system. So if you want better sharing of information, you have to design that in.
Yes.
And the next one is adapting the processes. So if you're in a supply chain that has a change in demand, only 4 cases. But if no one was shared that, hey, the only thing that we actually needed was 4 more. It wasn't 30 more, but our process was, we have a 8-week backlog or an 8-week delay from the time retailers place order until we see it. That was the problem. It wasn't the ordering process, it was the backlog process.
Yes.
So to fix the situation, they perhaps needed to have a networked ordering system, like a computerized system. So now it's like, but that was like, okay, well, if we need a networking system, then we probably should have to go talk to Cisco or Honeywell or some kind of like
Right.
telecom company. Maybe Google's involved. So we have to adapt our processes against the current state.
Yeah.
We can't just say, we can't do the opposite. We can't be like, let's take what we did last time and just do it more.
Harder.
Do it harder.
Do it harder.
Yes. Like go, hey, you know what's really effective? If you show up at the trade partner's office at 7:00 in the morning, surprise them.
Yes.
Like cringe. Don't surprise people. It is effective in surprising people, and you get the truth really quickly. But guess what? It's going to happen the next time you show up. You're going to get the front desk. Fourth is empowering individuals. And there's this guy that's going to be talking in San Diego. I don't know if you saw. There's this former Navy SEAL. He's going to be at the LCI Congress.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
He's going to be talking about ownership. Yes, mine too. By the way, we're pals now. I'll tell him about my shenanigans with buds. I'm sure I'll get choked out. But anyways, I don't think it's ownership. It's authority, or maybe it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're actually, you have the agency.
Yes. 100%. Because I like agency because there's two sides to it, right? Mm-hmm. One is I've got the autonomy and authority to make a decision. That's half of the equation. Mm-hmm. The other half is, do I have the skill set and the wherewithal to do that?
Yeah. Or keys.
Agency. Yes.
As a badge.
Yes. Perfect example.
Or insurance.
Access.
So
if you don't give me the keys, I don't have access.
Yes. So empowering individuals. So if you have like, this is where like pre-construction is so important, because they do the agency part.
Right.
They get stuff packaged, and it's like, we need a tower crane, and that tower crane needs power to run it, right? It doesn't run on solar panels. So we need a business agreement with the power company to connect the power. It's like, well, that takes time. Well, the schedule says it needs to be turned on today, and the crane's up in the air just spinning around in the wind.
Yeah.
So having the agency to make that business deal, you got it. You have to plan that in. That's part of the plan. So if you don't think about empowering individuals, you don't design a good structure. So designing your structure to influence the behavior, it has to make all those things: your communication, your trust, your process has to be adaptable. Things have to be very change outable. I don't know if that's even a word, but I like it. Yeah. And then empowering individuals, you got to take ownership to it, because you got to run it.
Right.
Yes. So that's just one lesson. The second lesson is structure in human systems is subtle. It's very subtle.
What does that mean?
So for me, I love this poem. It's Dylan Thomas. Do not go gently into that good night. You know that one?
I've heard those words.
Right? Yes. So on the LinkedIn post, I put a Back to School by Rodney Dangerfield quote in there. When I was in grade school, I did a write-up on this poem. Everybody's like, Thomas is like really smart. He studied this really famous poem written in the 1950s. But no, I just got it from Rodney Dangerfield. But I still like this poem. And it's like, do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at the close of day. Rage at the dying of the light. Right? Like it's this very, but the idea here is the structure. You have to challenge it. And the poem is about the son is telling his dying father that, like, don't just go softly. Like, you can live all the way.
Yes.
And so you have to challenge that. And so the norm is like, I've had a full life. I want to do it. I was like, I saw on like Instagram, there was like a 105-year-old lady who went and skydived. Like, hell yeah. So you have to confront the ultimate structure of human existence. You have to accept that I am at the end of my life and it's not the end yet.
Mm. Mm,
So you
mm,
have to
mm.
reject it. And so in the similar vein, so like Peter Senge, he encourages us to question unspoken rules. So we're talking about like how human behavior is subtle. Like
Yeah.
I bet it's different between where I live in Atlanta and the other side of town
Okay.
to the south part. Or to San Francisco, right? And that's just geography. But then it's like you have, so if you have different types of people, maybe just skilled trades, there
Okay.
are unspoken rules and assumptions
Yes.
and assumptions. So
Yeah.
there's rules and assumptions. And I always like to use the iconic skull guard hard hat, the like
Oh
composite.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
dark brown. That thing has been around since World War II. And it
Oh.
is like every carpenter, like who's cool. I still think that hard hat is very iconic, but that assumption
Yeah.
shapes our behavior. So even though we have these new hard hats with chin straps and visors, and like I think they're, I think they're
I love
cool.
them.
Right?
I love them.
Call me whatever you want, but it protects you more than that skull guard. And so, but the thing is it's different. So you have to challenge the status quo. So what Peter Senge says, to understand how human life is subtle, you have to call it for a challenge of the status quo. We have to examine deep-seated patterns and mental models. Remember, we're talking about those mental
Oh
models,
yeah.
and they limit human potential. They limit
Mm.
human potential.
Oh.
Here we are, Jesse. We're talking about a graduate level class at MIT right now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, I have no problem talking about this curriculum, and we have to challenge that and be like, I'm not good enough for MIT classes. Like, no, we are. They're
Yep.
just people too.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so and then the last part of the Thomas's poem, he talks about agency,
Ah.
right? And he talks
Yeah.
about individual agency. So even at the face of death, his father has to make a choice to fight, to resist, to rage against the dying of the light, right?
Yes.
You have to rage. And he challenges that. You have to challenge the status quo. And like the thing about it is, it's just agency.
Yeah. Well,
So the power of individual agency is crazy, right? And
yeah.
then collective agency is even greater. But none of us are passively. You don't have to passively accept anything. We're not just recipients. You can take action on things. We can be proactive. What do you get?
Well, so two things I want to say. I want to shout out to the uncommon communicator. He's working on a presentation right now, and he's like, "Man, thanks, guys." So he's getting some nuggets out of it. And Miss Nick, she says, "Evening, what's going on, Miss Nick? She's invited me to contribute to an anthology or a book that she's writing, LinkedIn Love Affair. Anyhow, so keep an eye out for that. But as it relates to raging against it, right?
Yes.
Raging through the night and the status quo. Here's what I got. It sounds really cool to say, I don't stand the status quo, and the status quo, like, there's a lot of opinions about the status quo. And I know, Thomas, in order to change or challenge the status quo, you have to be prepared to rage and overcome friction and overcome doubt and overcome self-preservation. Like, breaking the status quo is not
You don't
something
even have to be prepared. You have to overcome it. You got all the way. Yeah.
all the way.
Being prepared is only part of the deal. Yeah.
Yes. That's all I got on that. You got to rage, baby. Rage.
Rage. Yes. The violence of action.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very effective. And
Yes.
so that's the power of agency. So like, oh yeah, it's I love that poem, and it's like I know it's from that silly movie, but it's good. So
Yes.
that introduces the second point. The third point: leverage often comes from new ways of thinking.
Ooh. Oh, I'm living that.
Innovation, right, comes into
Yes.
play. Sometimes innovation is the child of necessity. Often is. It often is.
Yeah.
In human systems, people often have potential leverage that they do not exercise because they only focus on their own decision and
Yeah.
ignore how their decisions affect others.
Willfully ignored. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's
100.
like, why is Instagram freaking cool? Because it's like this constant, like cool shit to look at. Constant, like it's endless cool things, like funny, scary. I'm gonna keep scrolling past that one because I don't want people to look over my shoulder, right? Like it
Yep.
is cool, and the reason why that took fire because it was like this is interesting.
Yeah.
That well, how did that become out? It became the technology wasn't there yet until we had these devices that fit into our hands, right? It wasn't like Instagram was on the web, like you can look at it on your computer when it started. It wasn't until smartphones came, but like
Mm.
leverage comes from new ways of thinking, and like
Yeah.
that really powerful computer that we all have in our pocket now
Yeah.
changed the game because it
Totally.
gave us a new way to think. So that this new way of thinking, AI, could
Yeah.
change the game again. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think
Well,
about
so
leverage?
on that
Leverage.
point, so two things. You talked about AI. I recognize, hell, I'm experiencing some of them, probably just a little sliver of the value that it can bring to just like some of my day-to-day stuff that I got to do. Um, and in terms of like having a new way of thinking, there's a lot of friction out there. Fear, I'll call it fear because fear is more accurate about what AI is going to do to us and what the implications of the AI are. And so it it does require a new way of thinking in order to leverage the capabilities of that tool, right? Like, bottom line, you got a new tool. You mentioned at the top of the conversation, last planner system. I can no longer be a dictator and think of things only in terms of how they affect me if I want to experience the value of that system. I've got to be, if I'm the lead, I've got to have a collaborative, facilitative approach, not the dictatory approach anymore. Too many people are trying to do the system with an iron fist, and then they wonder why it sucks. So it requires a new way of thinking. And then the last point I'll make
Yeah.
in terms of like the leverage, when I started my business and started buying my private jets and my, Mercedes and Lamborghinis, I had to think about money differently, like differently than I've ever thought about it in my life. And it was difficult. But when I shifted my framing around the way I think about money, things opened up in a pretty damn big way. And I can leverage that thinking to make more responsible decisions in terms of my business and also in terms of serving my clients with an amazing service.
100%. I wrote down 3 of these leverage. They're kind of the negative parts.
Okay.
I said sometimes we only focus on our like the stuff that's sitting around us. So the first one is tunnel vision.
Ah.
Remember in the beer game, you can only talk to the person to your right, and you couldn't even talk to him. You just give him a slip of paper.
Yep.
So you can only see your inventory and your order. That's it. It's like playing poker, I guess. No, not even playing poker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get tunnel vision. So that's why like poker is a study of human behavior, because like, you can't see the cards. You have to see how people react. So that's why people wear sunglasses and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Got no one to fold them. Anyways, so then the second one, unintended consequences. Because we can't see the whole system.
Yep.
And in a spirit game, a single retailer can trigger a chain reaction.
Yes.
Just that 4-case lift.
Yes.
Creates a mountain of inventory.
How about this witty remark from
Your
Sarah?
goggles? Yeah.
No new perspective, baby.
Yes. And that leads to number 3. So unintended consequences lead number 3, because it's like we're panic, we make poor decisions, we're human beings. And then so we miss opportunities.
Yeah.
So not only do you have unintended consequences, you actually will miss opportunities to react because of the behavioral thing.
Yeah.
And if you weren't around the last 2 years, remember the toilet paper thing?
Oh,
right?
God. Well, hell, we're having it right now in Texas.
Probably
like
happening again. Yeah. The hurricane.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Water, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I got a
live in
question
North
for you,
Carolina, and like the like eggs, milk, and bread would get wiped out, but like other things would be perfectly fine, which is very odd because all of those things in a power out situation would go bad
first. Yes.
You would think like simple things like shelf stable things would go first, but no, it's very strange. And the reason why it's because people feel comfort with those things. It's like, if I have these things and we can eat as a family and I'm comfortable, I can't control the hurricane. I can't control the power situation. I can't control the trees falling in the street, but I can control what my family eats. So it leads to this hoarding behavior. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that happens with labor. Oh, it happens with labor.
Yes. Right? Yes. 100%.
Hoarding behavior happens with labor. Yeah.
Yes. So
go ahead. Ever heard of change orders?
No, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Unintended consequences. When you think of consequences, do you think of them think of that word as a neutral word, meaning there's going to be potential for a positive consequence and or a negative consequence? Or do you think of consequence as a negative outcome, period?
This is a hard one, because when you work with me, this is the frustrating part of working with me, because it's like it's neither good nor is it bad. It just is.
It just is.
It's like, what do I do with that, Thomas? I need to go find somebody to punch.
Yeah.
No, it's like now we know we can't get switchgear for 3 more months. We know it now. We didn't, like 10 seconds ago, we didn't know it. We now can make adjustments. This is just is.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, what do you do with it? Because I'm like, I'm mad, I'm frustrated, and then you get me in there who's asking the 5 whys to, I'm like, I want to put this on the board.
What's the action?
I want to put my fist through the board. That's what I want to do, Thomas. I'm like, no. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about Marcus Aurelius. And they're like, we're gonna get out of here. So, but that's my thing. And the missed opportunity, if you don't have that mindset, it's like, oh, I'm screwed. Oh, this job is hosed. Mm-hmm. And this snowballs, and whole entire project have been put on hold because of this behavior. Because of the bullwhip action, because it's like, listen, these are huge. Some of these projects are billions of dollars. And like, let's say we're building an airport. There's problems with supply chain. We might be like, I'd rather have these gates open than to lose them. So let's stop the project. Or moving a baseball team from Oakland to Las Vegas, and they got to go to Sacramento for a while. It creates all these logistical problems.
Yes.
And not only that, it leads to like morale issues. As I'm a former resident of Oakland, I'm not a fan of that. I like the A's where they are. So
Yes. We got
Megan
to
Shapiro.
market for
Well, she's
aliens.
back. We were competing in live stream. So thank you, Megan, for popping over. We'll
She's
go ahead
awesome.
and listen to yours later because I'm
Yes.
sure it's awesome. So anyways, so that like the leverage thing, it creates, and it goes into this chapter in part 2 about vicious cycles.
Yep.
Vicious cycles. And it's the concept of your orders interact with everyone else's orders.
Yep.
And when I'm ordering something, like, and as I say, I'm ordering $25 million set of generators from Caterpillar. And that's like, this is a big sum. Like these generators from Caterpillar, they're like the size of a locomotive. And they gotta come in and get a giant crane to set it. We have all this stuff, right? We had a section of the building we got to lead out. We got to take down power lines to get it delivered. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Caterpillar?
Yeah.
Huge.
That's freaking
that's one order.
Yeah.
Right? And they make dump trucks, they make bulldozers, they make all kinds of stuff. My order, while important, not the only order.
Right. It's a big, here's what's interesting is it's a big
my order affects everybody else's too, because they're a manufacturing company. They design and manufacture all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
And my order does affect their process because it
100%.
has to go through it, right?
100%.
So it does affect it. Yeah.
It does, but there's like what we ignore is the relativity of it. What I mean by that is it made that one thing that you're ordering it's a $25 million line item on your budget, which is the biggest freaking line item on your budget. But on Caterpillar's budget, it's a drop in the bucket. Right? Like
it's one order. Yes.
It's just one. Like it's your world, but it ain't mine. Like, come on. But we don't take that.
I like some Caterpillar stuff. Oh, they got some. Oh, it's beautiful stuff, and I like it when it fires up. But we are just a customer amongst other customers. So the idea with a vicious cycle, it's vicious. It's not. Yes. It's not the opposite, where the reinforcing cycle, where it's like grows like we want. So a vicious cycle is a reinforcing cycle in reverse. And I like the Herbie example.
Yes.
So if you haven't ever read The Goal, it's a series of chapters in the middle section of a book called The Goal, written by Dr. Eli Goldratt. And the Herbie character is the slowest member of a hiking group, and he's causing delays for the entire team. And initially, the team tries to solve the problem by having the fastest members help Herbie catch up by like, come on, Herbie, come on. Like, we need to motivate you.
Come on.
We need to motivate you. We need to send a delay letter to Herbie's parents, right? Like, I'm going to escalate this issue to the front of the line, and the boys in the front of the hike will go faster. Then none of that solved the problem. Because the problem is Herbie is the constraint. He's the slowest one. Yes. So the point of the story is you have to look in Herbie's backpack, and he's got like an iron skillet in there and all kinds of other stuff. So it's like, the Herbie wasn't the problem. It was the stuff in his freaking backpack. And once they realize that and remove the stuff and spread it out and give the heavy stuff to the fast kids, problem solved. Boom. So we can learn from both of these chapters. Yes. And the first thing you can learn, identify the constraint.
Well, hold on. Pause.
Yeah. I'm going to TOC.
Well, there's one thing that I've learned and that is that Armando is going to have a toilet paper dispensary coming in spring of 2025. We inspired something, and he was not expecting this conversation at
He was
all.
expecting a beer chugging game.
Yeah, I guess so. Gotcha. Got him. But yeah, sorry. So I couldn't help but throw that in there. But yeah, like understanding the constraint. And we blamed Herbie when we were reading the goal. Freaking Herbie, he needs to eat less. Freaking Herbie doesn't work out.
Fat. Yeah.
But
Lazy.
the distribution of the load was not even. He was carrying a heavier load, and that's a system problem.
It was the structural problem. Yeah.
Yep.
So the problem in the Herbie story and the problem in the beer game, both problem, it didn't identify the problem. They didn't
Right.
They didn't say the problem was there was an increase, a slight increase from week 1 to week 3 by 4 cases at one place.
Yeah.
And perhaps it spread out. So it was a blip. It was a slight increase.
Yep.
That wasn't identified for like almost 14 weeks. Not almost 14 weeks. And then in the Herbie case, it was the iron skillet in his backpack, right?
Yep.
Once you identify it, you have to optimize the entire system. So now you found the constraint.
Yes.
I found the problem. I can't just focus on the problem.
Right.
So you have to optimize the entire system. So guess who has to change in the beer game?
Everybody.
Well, maybe we got the Institute of Fax, because they probably had a fax machine, and that's an instant, or at least like
that would have been better.
Like instead of a 1 week delay between a retailer and a wholesaler, it would have been, I don't know, a day. I don't know what it takes a fax machine. Yeah, I remember them. Yep.
Still 80% improvement if it went down from 7 days to 2 days. Man, I had a thought. It disappeared. Oh, I'll come back. Here it is. You talked at the beginning of the call about the value of simulations. So, and I know this in the next chapter we get into this idea, but the value of it is of the simulation is that you can see all of the dynamics, human dynamics, the relational stuff that we do, the vicious cycles that we kind of create unintentionally, and the impact throughout the entire system. We can see that all in front of our face. Whereas in real life, we can't, the space, the gap between space and time of the occurrences, we can't see the association. Right? Because the football game or whatever, there's so many things that happen that we're almost entirely blind to it, because these problems, these cycles, these systems happen over extended periods of time that exceed our vision. Anyways, that's what I had.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, because you can't optimize the whole system if you can't see it.
Right.
And if your system includes like brewing beer requires time.
Yep.
You have to see longer than 2 weeks. You have to like make anticipation.
Yes.
That's why, like you have to optimize the whole system. Yes.
And that's work. And that's a lot of freaking people.
So that's why I always say, like, if you want to introduce this like agile planning system, that means your decision-making process or your problem-solving process also has to be also agile.
Yes.
You can't just optimize we're going to make these rapid plans and then every week we're going to grade ourselves. Like, no, you have to, the way you make decisions have to change, because you have this new information that it could inform future plans. And if your future plans, like, if we move a P6 activity from 1 week to another, and we're going to say that's bad, and like,
right.
No, just then like that's a huge problem.
Yes.
Really huge problem. So, and that's just one example, but that's that leads to all kinds of problems. So like if we're going to introduce any kind of thing to one part of the system, you have to optimize the whole system. That's super hard because you have to
Yes.
get all, remember the disability is like we have to overcome team learning. So like everybody has to change. The people who are like sitting on top of the organizational chart, who are like prized people for their expertise of doing business. Like, the way you make decisions has to change. That's scary.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to optimize the whole system, and then collaboration. We already talked about this, but like sharing information.
Yep.
Sharing information and coordinating orders would have solved the beer game.
Yes.
If you could somehow have coordinated orders with the wholesaler instead of just a wholesaler taking the slips, if you can be like, if we can like look at the actual increase in like actual sales, like receipts, like you can, I think nowadays we can actually see that there's a bunch of, and it's kind of controversial with like the social impact of people buying stocks because you get that flow.
Yes.
So like Charles Schwab purchases information of the flow of people buying stocks because they want to know who's buying what at that moment.
Yes.
That's super valuable. But if we don't share that.
Yeah. Well, it's like working off of an outdated set of drawings.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like, okay.
Yes.
You got a problem.
Yeah. So that's the beer game, like right there. Like it illustrates the importance of system thinking right there. So the beer game is just like an example, and it's a complex system. It's got farmers and it has people like just grabbing a sixer after work.
Yep.
The whole thing. And the learning disabilities
of an
what we
organization
learned in a previous chapter loops right back in.
Yeah.
So I'll state a couple of these. Siloed thinking leads to blame. Ever felt that one?
Oh, only when everybody else is wrong.
Remember the I am my position? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've worked with a company who was the CEO was very, very connected with people in the government, and like you can make business things happen, but on a construction site, we have inspections, we have laws and codes. Like we can't overcome these things like financial regulations. It doesn't work the same. So, and like if you start to mess around with that process, there's consequences with that. Yes. So siloed thinking leads to blame.
Yes.
And just because you know the governor of a state doesn't mean you'll pass your elevator inspection.
Doesn't mean the fire marshal is going to be your BFF.
No, the fire marshal is not the governor. 100% not. Because they want to see the screws and
it's a life safety thing. Yes.
Relationships and like whatever we want, it needs to be right. It's a life safety. So siloed thinking leads to blame. This is that I am my position. I am important. Make it happen.
Yes.
We have to recognize that. Let's see here. Increased risk when we fragment things, oversimplify things. I always give this example. You could put up signs. You can put up fences. You could lock doors. And if you don't close a window, and if it rains, the water is going to come in. You can put up a sign and say water is not allowed in this space. We can make logistic plans. We can animate them, but water doesn't follow rules.
Listen, it's not reading the signs.
It's like if we get water in our electric room, that would be really bad. That would be really bad. I also agree that would be bad. But water, they have a different vote.
Water don't care. Yeah, exactly.
Gravity. Yes.
That's it.
So if we fail to consider the full impact of our actions, being like, we need to save some money on this temporary roof. we should be okay. Let's get some tarps going. Let's build
No.
some 2x4 dams with some caulking. And
Yeah.
when we fail to consider the full impact of that, and like normally that would be fine, but for instance, this hurricane like struck our building in Houston, and we got how many inches of rain today? We
Too
create
much.
new problems. New
Yes.
problems happen. So yeah, so risk is increased.
Yeah.
And Megan Shapiro, all about managing that
all
risk.
about that risk. Yep.
Esquire.
Mhm.
I'm like the yin to your yang, because I'm like the director of quality. We're like friends, and like we also shouldn't exist. Neither one of us. But we are. Here we are. And it's because of this right here. It's because risk increases when we try to simplify things, when we try to fragmentize things, when we take an 80-page schedule and put the summary on the front sheet, and all we look at is that. It's risky. And so, and we also fail to consider that. So that's just that's the end of part 1. We're gonna go forever.
Ooh, we are.
Talk about Marcus Aurelius, and then I will let you speak for a while.
Come on.
So the introduction of part 2. My favorite book of all time. I have many favorite books. This is one of them, but my favorite book is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And book 4, verse 27, I'll just read it. It's short. It's either an ordered universe or a medley heaped together mechanically, but still in order. Or can order subsist in you and disorder in the whole? And that too, when all things are so distinguished, yet intermingled and sympathetic. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot. This is adapted from Latin, from like the 2nd century. But there's 2 kind of things you can take away out of that. The first one is inherent order in systems. Even in chaos, we still have gravity.
Yep.
Right? Even in the most chaotic situation, there is still an underlying order. And we see that in heroic action, right? People have, in the middle of people who are just having panic attacks, some people rise above that and they can still take action. So even in the amidst apparent chaos or a medley heaped together mechanically, but still in an order. And so my thing, and this is so important to me, that people in construction must consider 100% is sleep.
Oh, yes.
We talk a lot about mental wellness, but my thing is the biggest contributor to mental injury. And there's illnesses too, and there's disabilities. I get it, but mental injury, so injuries to your brain, has to be directly related to sleep. And how do I know? Like, welcome to my life. I cut all kinds of time out of my sleep. I worked harder. What did I make up time? I made it time by not sleeping. So it's not, here's the thing about sleep. It's not a one-time deal.
No.
And it's complex. There's all kinds of, there's hormones happening.
Yeah.
There's your heart rate goes way down, and your body needs it. If you don't sleep, you will die.
Yes.
Right. And there's, even in war and in combat, and I'm writing a book with a Army Ranger who stayed up, who was trained to stay up for weeks. And they do that to train themselves to function without sleep. And so, but that's a very short time.
Right. And for extreme purposes.
Yes. And in very extreme, very short periods of time, they train themselves. And it's not healthy, but like for us civilians in an industry, we have to take care of our sleep. And it's super hard, super hard. So Marcus Aurelius teaches us that even in chaos, we must always value sleep.
Yeah.
You must always value it. And then the other part of this story, or the passage, is you have to have personal order in a larger system. So you have to find yourself in a big system.
Yes. Yes.
Create a sanctuary to sleep. I've been done well financially, and I've done not well financially. Like I can sleep in a dorm room, and how do you do it? Black out windows, right? You put
Yep.
on
Yep.
like you create a sanctuary to sleep as much as you possibly can. Get yourself free of distractions. That's the
Yep.
first one. Second one is manage your stress. Well, it's a harder one.
Yeah.
Meditations. Hello. The book is called Meditations, by the way. But deep breathing, calm the mind. There's all kinds of apps now for that. It's not stupid. It's not silly. It's very manly, in fact.
Oh yeah.
You're going to hear from a Navy SEAL talk about box breathing.
Yep.
The coolest, manliest men do that. They manage their stress. And to prepare your body for sleep, you can't be thinking about shit at work or at home or both. Or God, then it swirls, right? Set boundaries.
What are those?
Sleep is life and death, right?
Yeah.
Sleep almost should rank higher than family. Oh, this is a hard one.
It's the last one. It's the last
hard
one. All the time.
This is hard.
Yep.
So if we're in a family setting, we have to, and it's a high value, we have to teach our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our children, our dogs. I got a dog who wakes me up in the middle of the night all the time. Guess what? He sleeps out. We shut the door.
Yes.
Right? Set boundaries. It's hard. And like we said, there's conflict. There is conflict. Set boundaries. So that means like, ooh, I could work these many hours and I could gain some overtime hours. But like if I truly value my sleep, like I have to trade it off. So that one's important. And the last one, it's non-negotiable. This is life and death. And you have to recognize that. And until I actually recognize that this is, if I don't correct this, the outcomes will get really ugly.
Yes.
So that one's for me, but it's personal order in a larger system. Yes. Like we have to, if we got to be at work early and it's a long commute, then we got to go to bed at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. It's not normal if you're, and I've worked a night shift before. It's even harder.
Yep.
Right. Because it's like you go to bed during the daytime and you wake up at noon. It's very strange, but you have to prioritize sleep. That was so important for me, and I can't stress it enough to everyone else. If you're a man in construction and you're talking about mental wellness, sleep should be way up there.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Oh man, I love
Marcus
it.
Aurelius gave us some. What do you got?
One, well, I got 3 things. One, hell of a job, because you promised that you were going to bring in Smokey and the Bandit, Marcus Aurelius, Herbie, and Rodney Dangerfield, and you did it. Freaking well done. That was some expert weaving there, my man. Second
That's
point,
fantastic misfits there. Yeah, geez, wow.
For
Rodney Dangerfield to the Roman emperor. Yeah. All right.
Yep. The second point I want to make is like, when you're talking about the sacrifices, when I think about the sacrifices that I make personally, food, like my nutrition and my sleep, are the first things that I will sacrifice. Sleep is first, nutrition is second, right? Whenever I'm under pressure, whenever I've overcommitted, all of the things, or whenever I'm overindulging, sleep and nutrition are the first 2 things I sacrifice. And they're like the worst things to be sacrificing. That being said, I am working diligently to figure out or to design my optimal sleep routine. And, which includes a few things and works really well when I'm not traveling. The biggest challenge I have right now that I'm working to overcome is the time I go to bed, because that fluctuates somewhere between 9 and 11 p.m. But the time I wake up doesn't fluctuate. And
that's important. I wanted to add before you keep going. the adaptability piece, like find yourself in the system. Like what people tell you, like, oh, just go to bed every night at 9. Like sometimes I don't get home until 10:30, right?
Right.
So you have to adapt, and it's super challenging.
It
But
is. It's difficult.
like if you're only getting advice to get into a pattern, it won't work. It's
Right.
very difficult, especially in our industry, because it's so temporary, and
Yes.
our commute patterns change, yeah, drastically. Yeah. So
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
keep going. Yeah.
Good. Jennifer Lacey says Thomas is a master basket weaver, because you were able to weave all of these things into the conversation. Anyhow, so I mean, I think that's a question I want to ask the audience and for people that watch the replay. Like, what is your sleep routine? How much time and cognitive energy do you spend or invest in your sleep? Because that is insane. Like, I've made a dramatic investment there. It's made a huge impact, so much so that I'm working to figure out how to get more of it, or how to make the sleep better. Right now I figured out how to get my heart rate down to between 68 and 55 beats per minute when I'm asleep. That's really important, because when I do that, man, I wake up in the morning, it's amazing. If I get 7 hours, six plus hours is good. 7 hours is phenomenal.
That's that leverage. You're leveraging innovation, right? Because you got
Dude,
the doodads on you, the
yep,
sensor. Yeah,
yep.
leverage.
4 or 5 hours of sleep, I can function, but there's some fog, there's some irritation, there's some reluctance to be flexible and accommodating, right? So my performance or the experience that I deliver diminishes when my sleep is less. And that's since I've stopped drinking 8 years, by the way. Because before, 2 or 3 hours, I try to get shit done. The last point I want to make is this. You know, we're talking about Marcus Aurelius and the book Meditations. And there's a new practice that I listened to it somewhere, because I know how difficult it was for me to start meditating when I first began that practice years back. It's still not easy, but I have a better understanding of what it is. So it's not as difficult as I thought it was. But I started this practice similar to the box breathing. And I'm going to be, I'm recommending this. Like, if you want to try meditation, it's hard, because your brain does a lot of stuff, right? Or my brain does, it runs all over the place. But I learned this thing so this is the practice, 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, I'm focused on 2 things. One is breathing in as much as I absolutely can on every breath. And that usually starts with the inhale through my nose, and then I top it off with an inhale through my mouth.
Oh, the double inhale. Yeah.
Double inhale until I cannot breathe in anymore. And then I exhale all the way out until it's all the way out.
Does the garbage go out with it?
Everything, just all of it. And focusing on just that, like to breathe in as to capacity, takes some serious focus. My brain doesn't wander. And to focus on breathing out to completely empty, I like it. It keeps me entirely focused for those 10 minutes. And then I hold my breath for as long as I can after each session. The first time I did it, Thomas, guess how long I held my breath?
2 minutes.
Oh, no, not yet. A minute and 12 seconds.
Wow,
A minute
crazy,
and 12 seconds. And like right now, if I did it, I don't even know. Maybe I wonder.
Wow.
The last time I did it this morning, I held my breath for a minute and 38 seconds. And so that little mechanism of holding my breath at the end to measure is that feedback loop that's telling me this breathing thing is doing something. And then I feel like capital for the rest of the day. So, and that's all the blabbing I got. Do we want to, I think we should give the group like a little teaser of what to expect on our next conversation. Or
We
we
got
sure? Or
we
do we
got
just
10
leave them?
minutes. I think we should run through the laws because we
Okay,
did, and then
let's
I'll
do it.
tease the next section because we can do the laws quick because we'll talk about the laws in the next. Like we'll go deep dive into the
Done.
laws. But everybody's like time management. Like you need to manage time. Blah blah blah. Listen, time is fixed.
100%. You can't manage it.
You don't believe me? Hold your breath for 1 minute and 38 seconds and stare at the second.
Yes.
Or do what was I doing earlier? Side plank, where you put your arm out and you put your legs down on, like you create a little triangle, and you do that for 30 seconds. Like the 30 seconds feels like forever.
Oh,
When you're
yeah.
holding your breath or doing
body's
a side
taking
plank. Yes. So we have plenty of time, people. Like there's plenty of time to have conversations or to do box breathing or do those things. We have plenty of time. We just have to stop wasting time. So Peter Singhi gives us some laws.
Yes.
About
laws.
About the fifth discipline. So remember there are 4 disciplines, and the fifth discipline is system thinking. So it's like, we're like, how do you see the whole system, Thomas? Like, get a drone. That'd be a start. Or
for real.
You got a hill. You have a hill on your job site. Like I worked on a job site. It was on 2nd and Howard Street. And if you walk up 2nd Street in San Francisco, it's a big hill. Not a big one, but it's enough. It's probably
big enough.
60 feet of elevation where you like, I can kind of see more of the job site than I could from Howard Street down on the ground. So, and I've never walked that way because that's not my normal commute. I'd walk towards Market, towards the north. So just changing your perspective. So you have to think of things in systems. And Peter Senge gives us some laws. So if you break them,
you're in trouble. Peter's going to come get you.
Yeah. So basically, if you break the law, you have problems with the system.
Yes.
So we'll do these fairly quickly, and maybe the teaser is we'll I don't know. I'll find some more 80s movies to loop in. I'm a child of the 80s. I got some Goonies, maybe. What else is out there? Let's put bloop it in the comment section of what 80s movie references you want me to.
Oh, I like it.
Or 90s. My favorite. I work with Gen Z people, and they're like, "What were the 80s like?" There are 2 movies. I already mentioned Smokey and the Bandit. The other one is Better Off Dead. You ever watch that one? It is the 80s fever dream. If you haven't seen Better Off Dead, it's John Cusack. I think it's John Cusack.
Oh, that's probably why.
The quintessential 80s movie. Just go ahead and it's on Netflix now, I think, or not. I'm sure you can buy it like for $2. Better Off Dead. Anyways, let's do the laws. First law. And these laws provide insights on how systems function, how they change over time, and how we can intervene and create positive outcomes. Law number 1, today's problems come from yesterday's solutions.
Ho, 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 ho. Yes, even the dog got excited.
Yes. So I just let that one hang there. So today's problems come from yesterday's solution. Remember the unintended consequences we were talking about?
Yes.
And there's 2. We'll dive deep into them later, but it's the problem with quick fixes. Oh, they feel good. Ooh, they feel good.
I know.
You don't sleep well. You show up at my raceway. I got like you want to talk about lover's beer? Let me introduce you to the energy drink section.
Yes.
If you're a health nut, hey, I got one with no sugar. Yeah, right. Like we got one for everybody. We have coffee, even we have iced tea, we have sweet tea, right? Like the problem with quick fixes is that they don't really fix anything. It's just
Band-Aid.
And there's consequences with quick fixes. So we'll dive into those. I like the analogy in the book. It's like the rug merchant. There's like a wrinkle in the rug, and he steps on it, and then the thing moves.
Yeah.
It's the firefighting mentality.
Fire.
It also introduces today's problems come from yesterday's solutions. It introduces this concept of interconnectedness. One of the, and this will take a long time, but I do have another book project that I'm writing about systems thinking and construction.
Another
and
book.
It really gets into the interconnectedness of systems. So it's not just about jumping out of airplanes, but we'll talk about that one first. That one's going to be freaking sweet. Law 2, harder you push, the harder the system pushes back.
Yes. Hold on, let me find it. Where I know I have it here somewhere.
So when you try to force change, when you try to force change, it resists. And we have to understand that. We can introduce people to things. You've heard I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. This is that law.
Yes.
Harder you push, the harder the system pushes back. Harder you pushed. Right.
Yes.
So if I'm like, this is now the XYZ company production system. We're all doing this. We all agree. We all even signed the thing. And the harder I push that on people who are not also like, who are knowledgeable, who are comfortable with that, they will resist. It's just human. It's a law of human nature. So we will dip into that one big time.
It's like I'm pushing against the system because I don't like what I'm getting from it, but it's perfectly designed to produce the outcome that I'm getting. So pushing against it isn't going to change that. Like, but I want to push harder. Anyway,
but the harder so it's like the harder it's like the beer game. It's like, I'm freaking out. I need 30. Now I need 60, right? The harder you push, the bigger that bullwhip gets.
Yes.
Rule number 3, ready? Behavior grows better before it grows worse. Because we can take short-term improvements and they feel good. We might even post them on Instagram. We might even put them on LinkedIn.
Oh, and in the company newsletter, even. Watch out.
some pictures of some Post-its on a wall and some thumbs up.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Right. And it's true. If behavior will grow better before it gets worse. You have to recognize that. Because if we're only like, hey, remember that time it was like cool, we did the like problem solving activity with the Post-its and the thing, that was good, right? Yeah. Why don't we do that anymore?
Yes.
Right? Like why is that not a thing? And that leads to hoarding and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about like hoarding and toilet paper.
Yes. Armando, ding ding ding.
Armando, get your wholesale Georgia Pacific.
Uh-oh, we lost. Did your batteries die? Yeah, the batteries died. Well, folks, Mr. Thomas is going to get his audio things fixed.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
The easy way out usually leads back in.
Yes.
All right, reconnect my Bluetooth.
Yeah, the easy way out usually leads back in. So the easy way out is, I think, the most attractive, right? Because it takes the least amount of effort, or in the moment, like the acute pain is going to be resolved by doing this easy thing. But because I didn't do the appropriate thing, I'm going to be back experiencing the same pain, and it's probably going to be worse. And if you're new here, we are doing, Thomas Lamay and I are having our second conversation on the 5th discipline. Yes, the thumbnail said the beer game, and we did talk about the beer game, but it's probably not the one you thought it was going to be.
I remember this time I was adaptive, so I charged up 2 sets of headphones, and I was quick this time.
Ready to go. Hell yeah.
Next time I will just plug it in. I'll just have a plug-in set. The
10-4.
easy way out leads back in. That's the illusion of easy, right?
Yes.
It's
yes.
like illusion of easy leads to vicious cycles.
Yes. Shortcuts.
Right?
Shortcuts.
Yep. We both of us struggle with alcohol. I have yet to overcome it. I'm still on the
yeah. Me too.
What direction whatever you want to call it. But it's like I can willpower myself. I can be like, right, but it's like times, and it's like the amber liquid sits in my living room right now, so it's like it's so easy. But to move it out, like these are expensive bottles, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and like people come over and like, oh, that's super rare, Tom. It's like, so it's like
there's money, there's
a
status, there's social.
And then it's like, all right, let's break it out, right? So it's like, hey, we're having a good time. It's like the social piece there.
Yes,
it's a vicious cycle. That is a vicious cycle. I have now recognized it. I'm not overcome it, and Jesse, I am so proud of you.
Thank you
for overcoming. You're truly that is an achievement, and it's ever going. It's not right. It never ends.
It never ends. One day at a time.
Because of that vicious cycle. 100%.
Yes.
What's the next one? Hit
the
me
next
with
one is the cure.
The cure
can be worse than the disease.
Some solutions create more problems than they solve. Hollywood metrics.
Oh
yeah,
baby. Yes.
we have this like natural in our industry. We have this natural desire to like give me productivity trackers and right, like put all kinds of doodads on things. You know what's free? Walking outside of the trailer with your 2 feet and using your eyeballs with a clipboard. Maybe the clipboard isn't free, but you probably bought it already.
Right. Right.
So the cure, man. So getting super and like, listen, we need technology. We need these things because it changes our leverage. But sometimes the cure can be worse than disease.
Yes.
And and like, to be careful because like prefab, like DPR is into a huge. The problem with prefab, I'll tell you now, if the stick built system isn't ready for you lose all of the benefit because you have to take apart your prefabricated thing that you built in this beautiful factory that's climate controlled.
Oh yeah.
So, and if we convince somebody to do that process, we have to optimize the entire system.
Yes, logistics, everything has to be able to accommodate it. Period.
I love IPD. I love it. We do it all the time. It's so great. All the trades need to be in the IPD agreement, every single one. And the second we limit something like, oh, they're a non-IPD trade, you've limited the system. And I get it. These are difficult, very, very difficult business decisions to make. Yeah. And it's hard, but the cure sometimes can be worse than the disease, and it's because of that. Same with lean.
Yes.
Right. I am a victim of this one my own self. I get all obsessed with it. And if I'm not teaching people what I have like researched and learned, then we won't implement it.
Right. Who cares? You're just some crazy guy with another idea. Yep.
6 faster, slower. 6 faster, slower. Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
My father was in the military. He was just here. He was here over the weekend. So I was asking him about this one. I'm like, tell me about, he was a Navy guy.
Yeah.
Tell me about faster is slower. He's like, he gave me these. These are great. Prioritize accuracy.
Yep. Yep.
Avoiding overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Rushing leads to errors. So if you're just trained just to move your head, it could be the difference, right? And then conserving energy.
Yes.
And you're a marathon runner, and you still are. You said it at the top of the show, right?
Yep.
Starting out too fast or going at various
Fluctuating pace is
BPMs leads to, so faster is slower.
Yep.
Faster is slower.
Yes.
But it's not a double entendre. Faster, if you want to go faster, you're going to be slower.
Right.
Whatever the things that you're wanting to do to, what is the recovery schedule? The recovery schedule.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just extend the schedule. That's what it's gonna be.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yes. Or like completely rearrange it. If our decision is doing more, we don't prioritize accuracy, right? Those kind of things.
We're just compounding the deficiencies.
So faster is slower. It's not a double entendre. It's not the slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Like that sounds cool. No, faster is slower.
Yeah.
7, the cause and effect are not closely related in time and space. Oh yeah.
We talked about that right in the middle of this. Is that it's that like in time and space, you can't see the cause and the effect because of the time and space between the cause and effect.
There's a Spaceball reference. It's the plaid speed. Right? He's gone plaid.
Dang. Okay.
They've gone plaid because they overran.
Yeah.
They missed the time and the space. Anyways, see, I told you I can loop them all in. Number 8, small changes can produce big results, but areas of highest leverage are often least obvious. This is the crusty superintendent off that's like stuck in their ways.
Yep.
Or it's like in the goal, it was like they got the milling machines out.
Yep.
That were like in storage, and it was like that was the solution. It was the old school way.
Old stuff,
So
not the new
old school way
Yep.
can be the way.
Yes.
And can be, and it's like sometimes it's in the front of your face.
Yeah. Yes.
We're writing a whole chapter about this. That's like you want a legit planning station. Just start looking around the job site. Start.
Oh, you got all the material there.
Yeah, you probably got it kicking around. You probably got it in the dumpster.
You got 8 of them in the dumpster.
Yeah. Which leads to number 9. You can have your cake and eat it too, but not all at once.
Oh, that's. I think that one's my favorite.
This is the trade-off.
Yeah. Like you can't have it. Like Jesse, you just need to like no. I can have everything I want, just not all right now. You watch.
Yeah, that was I give up beer, and I'm like, oh, I'll just double down on Maker's Mark, right? Like,
yep.
No, you can't. I'm avoiding carbs. Like, no. Some solutions require short-term trade-offs for long-term gains. You have to, like, if you want. It's like investing or compounding interest. The best time to start compounding interest is right now. Yes. But I want to buy a Cybertruck, you know?
Yes. Or, I've heard this little, I don't know, anecdote of the people. I'm not one of them, but I'm close to one of them. Or in terms of the behavior. A lot of people have invested money in buying the new Apple iPhone every time the new update came out, right? If they would have invested the same dollar amount in Apple stock, the stock value would be over $1 million right now.
Oh yeah, you'd have like a case. You'd have You'd have your own Apple store probably.
Right. Instead of buying the newest,
Yeah,
latest
buying the
thing.
original iPhone back in
Yep.
08. Jeez, wow.
Yep.
I remember that. And I thought it was cool, and I couldn't afford
yeah.
it. Let's talk to Warren Buffett about that.
Oh yeah.
'Cause he does this. They have talk about Berkshire Hathaway mental models. They have policies that challenge their assumptions in investing, and it's because of number 9. Yeah, at least what I understand. I was just born in Omaha. I wasn't
Close enough.
not. I mean, maybe it's in the water. Anyways,
Yeah, it's in the water.
10. This is my favorite. Dividing an elephant in half doesn't produce 2 elephants. Instead, it kills the elephant and just makes this huge mess. Just blood and guts. You can imagine cutting an elephant in half, just a mess.
The effort before the mess. Yes.
Just the effort. It's like the simplification piece. It's like we'll just divide the elephant into chunks. Divide and conquer, Thomas. Let's just hit it.
Yeah.
Complex systems cannot be understood by breaking them down into parts. If you have a submittal process, a schedule process, a quality process, like an inspection process, a turnover that you have to achieve, and let's say we need to do some safety things along the way, like JHAs, and all right.
Yep.
All right. Like just fragmenting those into chunks.
Yeah.
It won't help you because none of them will be synchronized, and you'll get out of sequence. And then instead of doing one thing well, you do 2 things poorly. And
yes.
Yeah. So dividing an elephant in half does not produce 2 elephants. You kill the elephant. Yeah, I like that one. And the last one, we'll leave it on this. There is no blame. There is no blame. We're all part of the system, and our actions contribute to the outcomes we experience, right?
100%. We are responsible for every outcome that we experience, and we can change it if we don't blame.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like, hey, our Caterpillar generator that we need so we can have our life safety inspection, because we have to go on secondary power. We have to have that thing operational. It's off by 3 weeks. That stings. But
yes.
Now we know.
Yes.
It's like, and that big giant, so it's like we needed a crane. We needed to leave out a section of the wall. We needed all this stuff. Instead of dealing with that right now, shift that out 3 weeks. And what happens? What's the situation? And it's no longer a bad thing. It just is. And so if there is no blame, there is no blame. And that's I was on Sarah's show.
Yeah.
Fridays.
Yep.
And I was saying that too. And even if you make a poor decision, or even if you slip up, let's say if you're on a path and you have this mindset of it, there is no blame. Even if you screw up, you can course correct immediately. Right? You'd be like, so if we're making good decisions, bad decisions, if we just make a decision, even if it's the wrong decision, and if we have a system that can immediately say that was the wrong decision, you can immediately course correct immediately. Yep. So if you have this agile system to do so, and there is no blame, and be like, hey, we don't have to write a delay letter. We don't have to. Sorry, Megan Shapiro. We don't have to get third-party arbitrators involved immediately. If we have this agile system, we can move forward, but we have to understand that there is no blame. And she'll probably 100% agree with me.
Yes.
To build that system, because her business is protecting people, protecting people's interests as well.
Yep.
It's not always a offense thing. It's it's a proactive move. Yes. And it's that law right here. And I'm glad it's the last one, because there is no blame. I want to leave it on that because it's such a powerful statement. What do you got?
The two things, I'm excited and I'm glad that we went over the laws because they're important. And I think there's enough in just stating them to cause people to think and examine themselves. And we got some requests. One, we got some love coming in from DJ Hootie Hoot. He says, I love you too. Hashtag systems thinking. And then we got my system is Jennifer Lacey. She gave us some 80s and 90s movies.
Watch out.
To work into the next session. So you ready? The first one is The Breakfast Club.
Done.
The second one is Footloose. She even threw a little
easy money.
Right?
Get it.
And
is
then
there a deep cut? Back to the Future. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
These are completely obvious ones.
Yeah.
But the time and space and Back to the Future will come into play.
Oh, it's so
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So good. Well, folks,
work those in. Thank you. But if anybody else has a deep cut, like Better Off Dead or something.
Yeah. You know, and here's the other thing. There may be some suggestions that don't make it through the back end here.
Yeah, you have all week. You have until
exactly.
You have almost 14 days.
Yes, it's 14 days to give some recommendations and challenge Thomas's basket weaving prowess here. Man, this was a good time. Folks out there in the Omniverse, appreciate y'all very much. We will be back. You can get the replay on the YouTube and share it with all your friends and nerd out about this kind of stuff the way we do. And I don't know if y'all missed it, but Thomas did say books. So Thomas is working on more than one book, right? Plural.
Yeah. Speaking of overproduction, yeah. Also have a full-time job. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So we'll catch y'all next time, people. We'll see y'all later. Boom.